Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
I've always known that my stepsister, Madison, wasn't too fond of me. My dad and my stepmom got together after my dad had an affair with my stepmom, and she fell pregnant with his child, my stepsister. My mom passed away shortly after that. Well, years after Madison was born, my dad cheated on my stepmom with another woman, kicked her out of her own house, and started another family. It is needless to say, my stepmom and my stepsister aren't very fond of my dad, especially due to the fact that he left me behind with them instead of taking me with him. They couldn't do much anyway because he doesn't really have any family, and all of my mom's family lived in Europe. So I just became their burden, even though I tried my best not to. From a young age, I helped my stepmom around the house, cleaned and cooked. I got a job as soon as I got into high school and started to pay a portion of the bills around the house. It was still made very obvious to me that I wasn't wanted. I knew the only option I had from there was to leave the house, and that's what I did during my junior year of high school. I moved in with my boyfriend, Levi, and we've been living together separately ever since. Madison knew that I was in a relationship with Levi because even though I had moved out, I was still in the same school as her. Being in the same school also meant that we had a lot of the same friend groups. So Levi and she were always mutual with each other on social media and would talk once in a while, which was completely okay with me. So, this is sort of how life went on for me. I was in constant contact with Madison due to the fact that we lived in the same city, had a lot of mutual friends, and attended many of the same events. All these years after graduating high school and then undergraduate school, we never really had a lot of issues between the two of us. At the same time, I had completely lost contact with my stepmom. Well, just like I was dating Levi, Madison began dating Max, who she met in high school. Max is a great guy, and Madison got along with him pretty well. They dated all throughout high school and college and got engaged a couple of months back. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited about Madison's wedding. Not only because she was my stepsister, but also the fact that Max was my close friend, and it'd be some sort of reunion for all our school friends to come and see each other. Well, all of that was true. The wedding was going to be beautiful. Everyone was going to be present except for me. Madison called me up the day she sent out the wedding invites and told me that she wouldn't be able to invite me to her wedding because she wanted that one day of her life without seeing the shadow of the dad who ruined her life. I was upset, really upset, but I realized that we were never family nor friends, so I just let it all go. This situation created a rift in the friend group, and Madison really didn't like it. So I try my best all this long to tell everyone to not blame Madison for all of it because I wasn't blaming her either. Even Max reached out to me apologizing to me on behalf of Madison. I replied to each one of them that I was completely fine with not being invited. And honestly, even after this situation took place, it isn't like I missed out on anything. I just want to know if what I did was wrong. And well, it started when Levi pulled me aside and asked me if I had known about the fact that my dad and Madison were in contact. Of course, I didn't, so I told him so. Then he tells me that as he and Madison were having a back and forth because she wanted him at her wedding with the other friends, she brought up how she'd even accept my dad with open arms at her wedding, everyone except me. After pressing on the topic, Madison confessed that my dad was indeed invited to the wedding and would be walking her down the aisle. And when Levi confronted her about how disgusting her behavior was, she tried to laugh it off, saying that it was nothing for all the money he was putting into the wedding and afterwards to help them to buy a house. Shock, anger, and disgust would all be words too small to describe the emotions I felt at that moment. I questioned everything and just wanted Madison to suffer the same amount of sadness I felt. So I decided to get my petty revenge. I knew what my dad's Facebook was, and I knew how my dad was. I knew he'd hate getting his ego hurt. So I messaged him all the screenshots that Levi had with him. Levi also told Max about what Madison told him, and apparently, Max had no idea about her contact with her dad and the idea of him walking her down the aisle. All this long, he was led to believe that Madison paid for most of the wedding expenses by herself. Well, my dad did end up seeing the messages, but hasn't replied to me. Max is too mad at Madison and refuses to go ahead with the wedding. Now, my stepmom, some of our mutual friends, and Madison are all blowing up my phone and calling me an idiot for what I did. Max and Levi say I did the right thing. I'm really not sure, though. So, AITA? A lot of you were asking me questions about my bio mom and dad, their relationship, and where my mom's side of the family is, and I hope this update explains it to you all. My dad and stepmom met at a local music event. They hit it off and very conveniently started this affair. They blamed it all on my mom because apparently the only reason why my dad got into an affair was that my mom, who was a lawyer, was too busy with work and too depressed. My mom's poor mental health was seen as a green flag by my dad. He and very toxic friends came to the conclusion that he wasn't in the wrong to sleep around because it's my mom who should be held accountable for not being able to satisfy my dad. My mom was heartbroken when she found out that my dad just uprooted our family to just move on as if nothing had happened. Her mental health deteriorated, and unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years later due to cancer. My mom's side of the family lives in Europe, and they would send my stepmom money to take care of me. That obviously was not enough for her, and I'd have to start working to pay for some of the bills. I hope this helps you guys gain more perspective on the situation and give a more appropriate judgment. Now, for the actual update, the texts haven't stopped coming, though. I guess Madison and Max's relationship is truly on the rocks because everything has gone radio silent, even though their wedding is just a couple of days away. Max says he wants to come see me and Levi to talk about things. I absolutely have no idea what it's going to be about. Hoping for something that's good for him, I'll keep you guys updated. Max came over to our place today and we all had a heart-to-heart conversation. Max seemed really stressed, especially because everyone was pressuring him to go through with the wedding because according to everyone, this was all what marriage was about. I wasn't surprised at all at everyone's reaction because Madison had created this image of hers in front of Max's family that she was the purest, sweetest, and angel-like. Of course, that's all now coming to an end, and Max's family is having a very hard time coming to terms with it because Max wants to call off the wedding altogether. Of course, this situation isn't the only one that led Max to come to this conclusion. According to Max, Madison had lied about money a lot before, and it has definitely caused a rift between the two. The only reason Max was ever ready to get married to her was that she promised she'd be more open with him. Things just started to make a lot more sense ever since, and we offered Max a place to live with us until he got his stuff together. Max happily accepted, Madison has been trying desperately to get in contact with Max. He's blocked out all contact with her. Max has gone as far as to threaten a restraining order on her if she refuses to leave him alone. That seems to have calmed her down. There's not a lot that has happened ever since. The wedding is off altogether. I can't help but feel guilty for it all, but watching Max take a sigh of relief definitely helps me feel better about myself. I had completely forgotten about this post for a while because, as you guys know, I have a life outside this situation and it demanded more of my attention. But I'm back here to give you guys a final update regarding everything that happened after Max and Madison separated. Well, Madison had to move into my stepmom's place. Max ended up moving into an apartment as well, and that's honestly all that there is to their relationship. As for Dad, though, I was very curious as to what happened to him amidst all of this, and it didn't take too long for him to reply to me after the entire situation took place. He left me a whole message explaining how he wanted to try to get back in contact with Madison, and I, too, apologize. He's diagnosed with cancer, so he wanted to get the most out of his last moments. That was the reason why he wanted to help her with the wedding and the down payment on her house. But the moment he saw the screenshots I sent him, he blocked all contact with her. He also told me how it was Madison herself that told him that I wasn't in contact with her and how I refused to keep in touch with her. Truly disgusting stuff. I felt no empathy for my dad or Madison. Even when my dad asked me if I wanted the money for a down payment on a house, I kindly refused. Told him I wished him luck on his treatment and said I wasn't interested in keeping contact. I guess he understood because we haven't spoken ever since. Do I feel sort of guilty over it? Definitely. But I know keeping people like Madison and my dad in life means my life becoming absolute hell, which is something I do not want. I'm just glad to have people like my friends, Levi and Max, in my life, and of course, this very helpful community. Thank you all for being here. NTA, Madison seems super petty. I bet the only reason why she didn't invite you to the wedding was that she wanted to manipulate your dad and tell him how you were the one that refused to come to the wedding. Mom's daughter duo seem very greedy. Good for Max for getting away before it's too late. NTA, Madison should thank you because if Max would have left her at the altar, you can only imagine the level of embarrassment she would have to face. Don't make yourself feel guilty over this. Your dad, stepmom, and Madison are only facing the karma they deserve. For some context, my mother always adored children and dreamed of having a giant family. Her firstborn was my oldest brother when she was only 16, and since then, she's gone out of her way to have 13 other kids. We're all ranging from 38 to 11 months old. The problem is that my mom can't seem to care enough to build a relationship with us after we hit our peak of cuteness, i.e., around the time we start learning to talk and walk. My problem with that is that she just shoved the kids to the older ones. In her last 2 pregnancies, she was putting the baby and herself in danger as she had finally hit her 50s. When we finally told her that she should really cool it with the baby making, she simply got mad and ignored us. Now to the incident that caused the post. I'm 19, female. My older brother, 23, male, and his partner, 25, female, had a very small celebration for their 5-year anniversary in which my mom, 54, female, and my SD, 58, male, were invited. We noticed my mom had grown her stomach out a little and had kept her hand on it the entire night. It wasn't until my sister-in-law announced that she was pregnant, we all congratulated her. But my mom cheered and said, "At least your new baby sister will have someone to play with." Baby sister? We hadn't had a female in the family in 15 years, so we all looked at her confused until it all clicked. She was also pregnant. However, since our response wasn't one of ultimate joy, like the one we had only a minute ago, my SD got mad and scolded us for not supporting nor celebrating our mother for her pregnancy. I simply told him that there was nothing to celebrate my mom on, as she was only bringing another poor child whose needs won't be properly met if it even lives. My siblings just stayed quiet. My mom and I argued, her constantly bringing up the fact I was in a WLW relationship and was completely infertile. I didn't understand the love between a mother and their child. I told her that she didn't either, since her love for us seemed to expire only after a year. She then said something that set me off the edge. "Well, at least I'll know my funeral will be filled with all the amazing kids I loved, while yours will be empty." I snapped back. "Maybe if you were an actual mother, then we would go, but the way you've treated us, I think you should forget about us being there, since we'll be celebrating our freedom while you die all alone, all because you never bothered to care about us." Silence. My mom just muttered an apology as she turned around to leave. My stepdad quickly followed after her. The rest of the night was more tame and seemed a little awkward. It wasn't until the next day, where I was sent at least 100 texts saying how much of an a-hole I am for making my mom cry. But I honestly feel as though my anger is justified. So Reddit, AITA, ESH. Your sister-in-law's pregnancy announcement was not the time or place for your mom to announce her pregnancy. It was also not the time or place for you to argue with and lash out at your mom. You owe an apology to your siblings, taking responsibility for your poor behavior without cushioning it with pointing the finger at your mom. Regarding your relationship to your mom and feelings about your upbringing, therapy. Therapy will help you out more than taking your anger out on her. NTA, who sent the text? Siblings? They don't get to sling mud after the fact when they all decided to stay quiet and let you take the brunt of the argument. Other relatives? Where were they when your mom was having all these kids? Why was no one encouraging her to stop and think about all the children she currently had? Stepdad? Does he really even get a say, since he has only been around for the current one and maybe one or two others? It was extremely inappropriate for your mother to announce another pregnancy that the older children would be caring for at the shower for one of her children. Very, very, very inappropriate. The world doesn't revolve around her. The next issue is, did it not occur to your mother that all these children might have dreams, plans, career choices of their own that do not involve caring for her in her old age? No? Never? Kind of short-sighted of her. Do not listen to these people. Your mother needs a harsh reality check to remember that her fantasy is just that. Her fantasy, not everyone else's. I have two sons with my ex-husband, Cade, 14, and Kyle, 13. Their father and I divorced 10 years ago, and 3 years later he remarried. His wife came with a girl, 12, and a boy, 11, of her own. Problems started that first Christmas when the boys didn't go to his house, loaded down with gifts bought by me. I was told I should have bought gifts for the younger children from their new brothers. That was the beginning of what became a shit show. To make a long story short, my ex's stepkids get whatever they like pretty much. My ex and his wife do not feel my boys should have things that are kept at my house. They feel what the boys own should be shared with the younger step-siblings, and the step-siblings want everything. They are also the kids who still, to this day, will tantrum if they do not get their way. My boys do not like them and hate their dad's house. There have been incidents where their stuff was broken by the step-siblings in a tantrum, and I might think some of it was exaggerated if I did not witness some incidents with my own eyes. The worst being Cade's 11th birthday. I threw a party for him and his friends. It was a mom's party. X is supposed to take care of a celebration with him. He and his wife show up with her kids, and they invite themselves into the party, start poking at some of Cade's gifts, and then when Cade wouldn't give them one, smash them against the table we were sitting at. I had to get a member of staff to force them to leave us alone. But that was all because the kids were told no to taking claim of one of my son's gifts. I still share custody of the boys, and the judge will not let them decide to spend less time with their dad. I bring this up because I know it will be asked. Anyway, it was my parenting time with the boys last week. On Saturday, their step-siblings came to the house saying they wanted time with their brothers. I saw no sign of my ex or his wife. Asked them how they got to my house. They said they walked. I told them they would need to walk home. They asked again to come in, and I turned them away. X called me when they got home and yelled at me for turning the kids away. He said I let them go not knowing what would happen. On one hand, I normally wouldn't do it, but seeing as they walked, I figured they could walk back. Not to mention, it has only added drama. I need to ask if my dislike of the kids led me to do something that makes me the a-hole. AITA? NTA, in my opinion. They walk to your house. They can walk back. Also, how did the custodial parents at the time not notice the kids going on a walkabout? Did they shadow the kids on their walk to your house? Or did they just assume bad things only happen on the walk back? Document everything and keep a lawyer updated. At some point, custody can be revisited and a judge will have to listen to the kids in the situation. NTA, and the next time they try to call the police for child abandonment, that will get the judge giving a crap. These children sound spoiled, and the older your kids get, the less time they will want to spend with their step-siblings. Eventually, the judge will listen to your children's